Next on CTV News tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court strikes down Roe v. Wade. We'll have reaction coming up. The High Court hands down a controversial ruling on abortion. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. The U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, saying there is no longer a federal constitutional right to an abortion. The historic decision, based on a current Mississippi case, ends nearly 50 years of women having a fundamental right to choose without excessive government restrictions. Going forward, abortion rights will be determined by states. Outside the Supreme Court, demonstrators reacted strongly to the news.
I am extremely disappointed in today's decision and what the impact is on women's rights and any pregnant people's rights. And I think that we need to reform the court and make sure that women have the right to choose when they can have a child and forced pregnancy.
It's hard to find words for that. I'm mad. I'm furious. I'm in disbelief that this is the state of our country. It's the 21st century. I mean, these are women's rights that we are abusing. It's our body. It's our bodily autonomy that we should be able to decide what to do with our body. And I am just disgusted that this is our reality today and that we have to be here protesting for our rights, our human rights.
It is a huge victory. The cloud of federally mandated abortion is lifted off the United States. And so now the real work for the pro-life generation begins, where we work state by state to protect not only women's rights, because really this is about protecting motherhood, but also protecting the most vulnerable among us, the preborn. We're going to be in state capitals tomorrow with our Life is Louder event, because right now this just started the starting gate, right? Like, we're going to see all kinds of legislation being pushed and passed to protect life all across the country.
In early May, Politico obtained an apparent draft of a majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito that would strike down Roe v. Wade. In the final opinion, Alito wrote that the Constitution does not implicitly protect the right to an abortion. 5 of the conservative justices concurred with the majority opinion. Chief Justice John Roberts agreed that the Mississippi law should stand, but did not want to rescind the right to an abortion altogether. The court's 3 liberals issued their profound disagreement, jointly authoring a dissent. Meantime, the decision in the case Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health means states can choose whether or not to ban abortion. According to a recent NBC report, abortion will immediately be banned in 23 states, with 13 states planning to ban the procedure within the next 30 days. That is, unless Congress acts to protect a woman's right to choose. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that's exactly what Democrats are aiming to do.
Right now, they're saying in states that they can arrest doctors and all the rest. What is happening here? What is happening here? Woman's fundamental health decisions are her own to make in consultation with her doctor, her faith, her family, not some right-wing politicians that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell packed the court with. While Republicans seek to punish and control women, Democrats will keep fighting ferociously to enshrine Roe v. Wade into the law of the land.
In the 5 decades that followed Roe v. Wade, justices appointed by Republican presidents from Eisenhower, Nixon, and Reagan, George W. Bush, were among the justices who voted to uphold the principles set forth in Roe v. Wade. It was 3 justices named by 1 president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country.
16 states, including Maryland, have protected access to abortion into state law. The district also has protections. Maryland recently voted to expand abortion access. Starting July 1st, nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, and physician assistants with training can perform that procedure. Now, the General Assembly overrode Governor Hogan's veto of that bill back in April, but to date, Hogan has withheld the release of funding for the training program. And the Supreme Court has been pumping out life-altering decisions at incredible speed the past few days. Yesterday, the court voted to overturn a New York law that restricts concealed handguns. The move sparked outrage among leaders nationwide, including in Maryland, which has a similar law that could now be overturned. Meantime, the U.S. Senate approved a bipartisan gun control bill yesterday with 15 Republicans joining Democrats. The House gave its approval this afternoon, sending the measure to the president. The measure would toughen background checks for young gun buyers, fund mental health needs, and close the so-called boyfriend loophole to prevent convicted domestic abusers from purchasing a weapon. Some of Maryland's youngest residents can now get protection from the coronavirus. Marylanders as young as 6 months old are now eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine. As we reported earlier this week, the CDC authorized the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines for young kids. The state estimates that there are now about 358,000 children eligible for the shots.
For the COVID vaccine, it is safe for kids to be able to get a COVID vaccine as well as their other routine vaccines at the same time. So it's important for families to still make sure that their kids get vaccinated for all of the other vaccines that they're eligible for and that are recommended.
Chan recommends that parents talk with their child's pediatrician about any concerns they may have. And here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. The Maryland Department of Health has confirmed 1,698 new cases. The county's positivity rate continues to rise. It now stands at 12.5%. 4 Marylanders have died of the virus over the last 24 hours. 427 people are hospitalized. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. We'll be back in just a moment.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego. I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. WSSC General Manager and CEO Carla Reed is on her way out. Company commissioners have terminated Reed effective December 31st. According to published reports, there had been a number of disputes between senior management and WSSC commissioners related to implementation of a new rate structure and redesigned water bill. In a statement, Reed says she will not lose any managerial powers in the interim. The announcement comes 1 week after a WSSC commissioner resigned in connection with problems related to the new system, as well as a conflict of interest. Well, for the second time this week, a teenager is bringing a loaded ghost gun to school. 16-year-old Jonathan Lucero has been charged as an adult for allegedly bringing the gun to Northwestern High School in Hyattsville yesterday, the last day of school. A resource officer got wind that a student on campus had a gun. Officers were able to confiscate a polymer 80 handgun, commonly known as a ghost gun. County officials addressed the issue of guns in schools earlier this week.
It cannot go any further. It really can't. We can't take any more of this of our kids. This is what's happening right now. The bulk of these violent offenses are all kids who are minors and who have parents and family members and community members who have an obligation at this point to stand up and do something about these kids. It's not just the government.
On Tuesday, a 13-year-old was arrested for allegedly bringing a loaded automatic ghost gun to Isaac Gordine Middle School in Fort Washington. On December 29, 2021, Montgomery County Police fatally shoot a man during a traffic stop.
You start driving. Driver, reach on the outside, open your door. Yep. Ah, stay in the car!
Officials now say the officers involved in the shooting have been cleared and won't face any charges. Prosecutors announced yesterday that their actions were legally justified. 27-year-old Osman Cisse was killed after reportedly pointing a gun at officers. He was a passenger in a vehicle that was stopped following a shooting in downtown Silver Spring. Well, flooding has become a growing problem for many Montgomery County residents. Today, the jurisdiction and the federal government are teaming up to address the issue. The jurisdiction has received 34 new high-tech flood sensors from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The sensors will allow the county to detect rising water levels in areas that are known to flood. Officials say road crossings and streams flood about 12 times a year in the county.
Through our partners in the Department of Environmental Protection, we have a list of significant and high hazard dams. The larger sites are able to afford sensors, but the smaller sites that may be owned by HOA or a small individual may not have the monies or the resources to fund a sensor. We use that data that we just mentioned to go and identify sites that have either an immediate life safety risk or an infrastructure risk if flooding were to occur, and have deployed those sensors out.
Officials say all sensors will be deployed by August 2022. Coming up later on the news, the Wizards take a star player from Wisconsin in the NBA draft. We'll have that story after the break.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, Montgomery County Police are investigating a fatal pedestrian accident. It happened around 4:30 this morning at Georgia Avenue and Rossmore Drive. Authorities say a motorist traveling southbound on Georgia struck an unidentified man. He died on the scene. No word on whether charges will be filed in the case. Several dogs are rescued from an unlicensed kennel in the county. According to officials, Animal Management recently removed 21 dogs from a kennel on Woodyard Road in Clinton. The animals were found in poor health without access to food or water. They were ultimately taken to several animal hospitals for care. Officials say an investigation into the unlicensed kennel is ongoing. A world-renowned opera soprano, Angela Brown, is bringing her show to Prince George's County. It's called Opera from a Sister's Point of View, and it takes place tomorrow night at the Center for the Performing Arts at Prince George's Community College. The show is sponsored by the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts. CTV caught up with Brown earlier this afternoon at National Harbor.
I have done opera from a sister's point of view, okay? You gotta lean back on it. It's a show that demystifies opera for audiences that normally wouldn't go. And I have done it, it really came into fruition around 2001 was my first performance, and I've been doing it for 20 years now. And now I do opera from a sister's point of view, Generation Next, that shows a bright light on the up-and-coming Black opera singers.
The show, which will feature local talent, will be in person or you can view it virtually. Again, it's tomorrow evening at 4 o'clock. For more information, you can log onto the web address at the bottom of your screen. Well, it was a big night for basketball last night as the NBA hosted its annual draft in Brooklyn, New York. And all the college stars were out last night, including #1 overall pick Paolo Banchero out of Duke University. Your very own Washington Wizards selected guard Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin with their #10 pick. Davis, a good defender and scorer, had this to say about his impact he plans to bring to the Wizards.
Definitely a defensive mindset. You know, you can never control if the ball goes in the basket or not. So I think you can always control your effort and intensity. And on top of that, just 3-level scoring. I think I can get to the rim or shoot from outside.
The Washington Wizards drafted a forward with their second-round pick. Checking the weather forecast now. Tonight, mostly clear with lows around 64 degrees. Saturday, mostly sunny, highs near 87. Sunday, sunny skies, highs around 90 degrees. Monday, a rainy day, highs in the low 80s. And that wraps up our CTV News Update. I'm Patricia Vallone. Have a great weekend.